objects now?
Yeah. I got a question regarding the radar warning thing.
Go ahead.
When you put the Tunguska down, there was a
Wait, hold on. Beagle first.
There was an open bracket over like the top of the square. What does that mean?
Can you do it on the radio so we...
Yeah, if you're asking a question, ask it over radio so that everyone else can hear it.
Alright, when you placed Tunguska, there was an open circle bracket over the top of the square. What does that mean?
In reality, it's supposed to mean something. I believe in reality it means that it's actually tracking you. I did some brief testing of that, and that's why I came to the conclusion it doesn't work like the real one. So I could tell you what that means, but I don't think it's always meaning that, if you take my meaning.
Yeah, right.
Yenko, did you have the other question?
Yes, on the RWR, the position of the circles obviously gives you a general indication of where, in terms of horizontal position, where the thing is. Does the RWR in ARMA give you range indication, or is it like a real one where it just gives you range indication in terms of difference between them?
Not entirely sure. Probably just do it through experimentation.
Okay.
Most of the time, when it comes down to it, most of the time when we're going to see these kind of threats, you'll be able to figure it out pretty easily just by looking at the map. Okay, so any further questions on the radar warning receiver? So that's the one piece of gear that's shared by both the crewmen. We'll now move on to the things that the gunner has. We've touched on it earlier. You guys have messed around with it some. The sensor pod is the main piece of gunner equipment. There are 4 levels of zoom in it. The first 2 are indicated by a crosshair. The second 2 have a circular crosshair. I believe this is reversed from how it really is, but it doesn't matter. Gunner side has thermal and daylight television modes. If you're not too familiar with FLIR, there are cold vehicles and there's hot vehicles. There are also ARMA 2 content, or there is also ARMA 2 content and OA content. The FLIR feature came out in OA, so the A2 content doesn't quite look the same. Generally speaking, if there's an ARMA 2 vehicle moving around, it will be stark, pure white. You will not miss it. The OA ones are much better modeled. The appropriate sections of the vehicle will give off heat, such as the engines and the wheels. Those are typically trickier to find. I'm going to put out a vehicle here we can all look at, get an idea of how the FLIR works. Alright, gunners, you should see to your front a UAZ sitting there. Okay, right now, does that vehicle show as hot or cold?
It's cold.
You can see me in front of it, showing up hot.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to turn this on and drive around. You should see it heat up. Let me know as you see that.
Yeah, I see heat in the engine.
And now the tires.
Okay, now that I've stopped, do you see it still kind of bright?
Yeah.
It's fun. One of those little fun FLIR aspects is that if a vehicle's just been sitting there and it's cold, it won't show up very easily. But once it runs, it doesn't just magically dissipate the heat. It'll sit there and cool off over time. So if we ever had a scenario where there were insurgents driving around in vehicles and other ambient vehicles sitting around, if you saw one that was sitting there that was hot, that means it's recently been used. So you can actually use that. It's kind of neat. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've covered so far?
Yes, Chris here. Just about the RWR again. Popped up late.
Go ahead.
Incoming missiles, will they be tracked? Assuming you have time to react, of course.
Missile launches happen from such close range in this. I was trying to see if that would happen. I couldn't determine it. You'll probably just hear the tone. When you hear the tone, you start doing something else. Evade.
Okay, got it.
question about the RWR. Is it oriented to the helicopter or to...
I would assume it's oriented to the helicopter. In fact, I'd be very surprised if it wasn't.
I got a quick thing about the flare.
Go ahead.
You know there's white hot, black hot. Is it just preference, or is there like preferential situations to use each in?
Just find the one that gives the most contrast for you. It's kind of a user preference thing. Sometimes it's just the way you see things. Sometimes it'll look better. You'll be more easily able to pick out targets on white hot. Sometimes it'll be black hot. Pilots, go ahead and take a look at your map. You should see Mars 1, 2, 3, 4 to our west. Confirm you see those.
I see that.
2C's.
Okay, we're going to get Solitaire back in here and get him in his aircraft. We're all going to take off. We're going to fly to those points and hover there facing north. Okay, now we're talking about the laser designator. To your front, past the forest, past the river, you should see some burned out BMPs with infantry targets surrounding them. Gunners, do you see those? Gunners, get your sights on one of those BMPs. Zoom in all the way.
Atticus, pop up a bit. Popping up. Alright, steady.
You'll notice in your action menu you have an option for laser designation that says like laser designator on. You usually don't need to use that. If you sight on those targets, those BMPs, and press your tab key, you'll see your number in the bottom left that was saying 250 will now change to the laser range of that target. Try that now. Okay, the shortcut, that's giving you a single pulse range. The benefit of this is that if we're in adversarial, especially at night, you know how we've all seen it before, a medium machine gun crew or some other laser designator, unit will be designating someone else will have night vision on you, see this gigantic fucking dot. If there's a human on the other side of that dot, they're going to recognize that as they're being ranged. This single pulse will not do that. This is also good if you want to range something like you're basically ranging the average distance and you're going to be flying around whatever. This is a good way to not have to think about it too much. The other option, if you press L as your hotkey, will do that same thing that action menu entry does. That'll turn the laser on to constant lasing mode. You will see that little red dot if you zoom in all the way. Try that now and move around and see how it changes as you aim at different things. When you have it in the auto mode, you'll see there's a circle around your crosshair. That's an indication that it's automatically ranging. You have that dot and all the things that come with it. The ranging will start if you laze anything below 250 meters, it'll zero out an error. It can't laze that close. Okay, moving on to the next piece of gunner gear, which is the cannon. The characteristics of the cannon are as follows. As we went over earlier, the sensor pods slave to the cannon movement. You can pan very far left, right, and down. You can pan a little bit up. You usually don't need to be panning up because you're in the air and they're on the ground and you're trying to kill them, etc. The cannon fires 20mm rounds. It has a 750 round capacity. These are reasonably small cannon rounds. They have a fairly small casualty radius. It's about 2 meters. It requires a good burst on target to kill infantry. And it requires pretty close direct hits to really reliably knock them down. These rounds are called SAP-ET, which is Sierra Alpha Papa Hotel Echo India Tango. It stands for Semi-Armor Piercing High Explosive Incendiary Tracer. In our Arma 2 terms, it's a jack of all trades round, and it doesn't do anything, perfect. It's adequate for a bunch of different uses. Since we're in a Cobra that has automatic, laser ranging, we can fire these things out very far. Bear in mind the tracer burnout's about 1,600 meters, so don't depend